challenge to show my tool bag by Mr. Kokosing Paleoar, Andrew Fitzpatrick, and he was inspired to do so by Mr. Obsidian Mustache, two delightful fellas. Go follow them if you don't. So here's an excuse for me to dump a bunch of garbage out. Start out, this is always in here. It's just a buckskin. This is the debitage from our last video, some goldstone and stuff. And then inside there is my hand leather. I keep my flake stored, so whatever I'm working on at the moment kind of lives in this bundle. I'll move everything real quick. This is my hand pad. I'll drape it on my leg if I don't have anything else, but I do have others. For pressure flaking, I just fold it over long ways, 3 times, like you're folding up a tarp. Fold it half, fold like this, and then once it's in this stage, it's just a matter of how thick I need it based on how much I fold it, how many layers, and then you can grab either the slightly thicker end or the thinner end, brace the point here, whatever you got to do. And sometimes if you got a really crumbly piece, you can fold it like this and catch it under here and kind of keep that debitage from getting up inside your fingers, and then just kind of pour it out like. There you go. Set that to the side. This is my leg pad. It's a rawhide piece of buckskin from a white-tailed deer. It's got a couple holes in it. One of these is from an arrow. I shot it through it to prove a point. And then the other ones are just from being slit and worn through. This is just salted and dried, no tanning or anything like that. It used to be stiff as a board and would actually curl perfectly and hold around my thigh like that, but through beating on it, it's just become super soft. There's one edge you can kind of see from this edge, it's a little bit stiffer. That's more what the entire thing used to be like. I really like this. It doesn't take away the shock to where I can't feel it in my thigh. I like to feel how hard I'm hitting it, because typically if I'm hitting it hard enough to like hurt my thigh, I'm hitting it too hard anyways, or I need to heat treat it or something else. So I like this one. It's not too thick, but it also, the fur on the inside really dampens that force and helps kind of brush debitage. If it gets underneath, it gets caught up in the hair instead of just pressing against your leg, and so it doesn't hurt as bad when it does poke you. Okay, I think I get to do the fun noise now, so I'm gonna scoot this over a ways. Don't spill. There we go. Okay. The rest is just trash that I picked up, and then lives in the laptop sleeve of this backpack. Toss him over to the side. It's the only copper tool you'll ever see. I have yet to use it, but I keep it with me as an example for students, and also because it's a nice gift from a friend. I was given it by Andrew. He made it for me. Think it's olive wood. I don't remember for sure, but it's really nice. Very well made. I really like it. If I do use a copper flaker, it'll be this. Okay. The only modern tools in my kit are just a set of hand files from Harbor Freight. They're rusted gross. They're completely coated in antler dust, but it's cheap, easy, builds strength. You can cut through antler with it. It takes a while, but it's most useful for touching up and reshaping the tips. You know, more of a notching shape, things like that. Set those over to the side. This here, this is my, I keep a go-napping pigment kit in my backpack. Here's some hide glue, some more hide glue in here, and then there's just the full pigment blend. I keep it in case I forget something for students. As an example, sometimes I'll use it as a binder in glue. If I have a batch of glue that's kind of not holding right, I'll use it to temp it. Yeah, it's good stuff. I like to keep it in here. I don't have any pitch in my backpack right now. I've used all of it, and it's all from setting up arrows. Here are abundant leather scraps. mainly uses bandages. If I get myself bad enough and it's bleeding a ton, I'll just grab one of these, do this until I can get it to stop bleeding, and then I'll go and clean it off when I get the chance. I deeply hate adhesives being on my skin. I will take a loose wrap over a Band-Aid any day. Band-Aids are definitely more effective. I just really hate wearing them. I always have, ever since I was a little kid. So I'll set some of these scraps over to the side. They're going to be all throughout the pile throughout the rest of this. Start with my hammerstones. I've got a lot. Move these. You can kind of see the front of the pile. So I've got this one. I got this one from a school for a recent demo. Shout out Clayton Bradley. I took this from the parking lot. This one, I like this shape because I can use it to hammer down a lot like an actual hammer would. These two are really soft, very, very soft. This one is primarily an abraider now. It's just, I can hear inside, it's rattly when I hit it against things. So it's become abrading. I call this guy my dinner roll. It's borderline like using a soft billet. It's super soft. You can see right here, I think, it bites in when I hit it and it really pulls flakes. I really like this thing. Got a loud car pulling by. This is my main abraider. Nice flat, smooth stone. You can see a divot in it. I've used this thing well. About 5 months ago, Andrew pecked this thing for me for a little while and helped it give a new surface, and I've worn it flat down again. It's almost gonna break in half here soon. I have a feeling. These are my other abraders. These are for really fine faces, you know, really, really smoothing it down. You can see this guy, absolutely tiny hammerstone. I use this for if I've got a shelf that I can't seem to get off of a biface. I will just kind of tap, 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 tap. That usually will free it up. If I've got to abrade inside a notch on like a spearhead, I can usually get this in there and give it a little bit more purchase. This guy, not really for hammering anymore. You can see I almost fluted it by accident. It's just cracking, crumbling, but it's still got some life to it, so I keep it in the backpack. Here are my rough coarse abraders. This is a piece of concrete riprap, just used for keeping embankments intact. This is almost like a polishing stone. It's super smooth, but it's got a good face to it. This hammerstone broke in half, top face came off. The inside's a really good coarse grain for abrading and keeping things smooth. Last but not least, these are just itty bitty little hammerstones of different toughness and strength. It's granite here, and these are all just based on whether I need a softer one, harder one, which shape lends itself more. This is purely preference and what I have come to feel helps me in little situations and spots and stuff like that. Set all these over here. We have this big guy. It's probably about the size of a grapefruit or a softball. I've beaten all along the sides of this thing, every edge, every shape. It's holding true. It's got a really loose grain, so even when chunks come out, it still flattens up pretty well and is still usable. It used to protrude out a little bit on this side, but it's been worn down after use and use and use. Over here. Alright, onto my flakers. I am going to be doing a lot of leaning forward for this batch. Different kinds. We'll start with the thicker ones. These ones are really going to be for those early stages in a biface where I'm biting out big chunks to set up the platform shape. They take wide clamshell shaped flakes. I like this guy because I can really get a good grip around him, and then I've got this extra little patch just kind of if I need to do some light popping. This guy, this curve to it, really, really lets me shape out and push in at a specific angle to send those flakes as I like to. Let's see. This one is for big notching, getting those kind of generalized angles started. If I'm just getting a big notch for a spearhead or a knife, that just gets a divot started. These are kind of my workhorse flakers. I like my smaller, finer flakers to be made from a more weathered shed. They wear down faster, but I find that kind of more calcified, bony, drier antler sends longer, sharper flakes towards the end stages. So that's where I'm going to do my notching, and I'm going to start, pointing out a finer point to really pop, try and develop a pattern there. Something I've been experimenting with recently that's kind of new to me, actually here's another notcher, but that one can go over there, is using whole antler. This is a small little whitetail antler, and I like it because when I'm in my hips, I can hold it like this, and the curve rests against my thigh, and it lets me push this flaker almost perfectly parallel to that blade, and it sends really good long overshot flakes. What are they called? Outrepassé, I think is the French word for it. But those overshot flakes that go from side to side, I really like using this to achieve it, because it lets me set a very specific angle and push this way without straining my wrist terribly. You can see a full-size one here. I haven't done anything with this one yet. I keep a full-size antler in my backpack most of the time in case I need to cut off a tine or something because I'm missing something. But I can use this one the exact same way for those big, wide flakes. You can see it's just about the same tip size. All those. All right, so I got these three here. These are punches for indirect percussion. This is an elk tine. Very thick, very big. It doesn't transfer the force very well, in my experience at least, but it is good for setting up the edges and getting a shape formed. This big, wide, flat end is very helpful for getting clean strikes. This is another elk tine. It's longer, it's got a bit more of a curve and a little bit more of a pencil shape to it. This one actually takes blades. It works great for obsidian. I really like it, and it is probably the one I've had the most success with for full-size long blades. And then for working on chert and things like that, this is a whitetail punch. It's a little short and not ideal shaped, but it's sturdy, strong, and about as thick of a whitetail punch as I've got at the moment until I work my way through, these guys and stuff like that. Then I've got my little billets. These are all three whitetail of different sizes. I've yet to really put any work on this guy. He's brand new, just cut him this week. This one I use the most. You can see on that face. I like with these ones because when I first started, I saw billets as swiping down and taking it off. It took a while for me to see that when you're hitting with a billet, you're stamping in. You're swiping down, but that shape helps it to have that final contact be at this angle to where you go past it instead of just pulling down. I would swipe down like this, and it took that. And these shape that ever so slight curve. That's what really allows me to get that angle. This is just a slightly heftier one, but you can see nearly an identical curve. That's almost always what I'm going to be looking for in a billet. And even on this little itty bitty guy, he's about as close to it as I can get to while being this small. This one, I don't use this one often. No, here's a little graphic pen. I like to draw sometimes. This is a fallow antler. This was my first big billet. It's not heavy. It's very light, but it's fast, and it lets me really get some velocity behind the strikes. This leather wrap here, I like it because it dampens the force to the hand, but it really lets it still transfer up head. And also, when I was initially doing it, I like to sometimes bite up here and use it a bit more like I would with like a hammerstone in terms of angle, because that's just a very natural grip for me, is that. Fallow, I like it. It's soft, it's light, it's very good for touch-ups and for softer materials like obsidian. I love doing it. Moose billet is a small moose billet. I use the term small loosely, small relative to a moose. It's great. It's a lot like hitting something with an actual bone, or even with, a harder pebble. It will crush, it will bulb, but if that's one of the reasons I keep these files around so adamantly, is it likes to pit, and I just every so often have to come back and do this. You can use, an abraider. I am willing to cut small corners like that. For resurfacing, I'll use a hand file. I don't have a belt sander or anything. I would use a belt sander to reshape my billets if I could. That's something that I think our ancestors would laugh at us for not using. I am all for shaping out your billets, what you need to use. Yeah. This is my big moose billet. This is a large moose billet. It is like a sledgehammer. A lot of what I'm able to do, I will credit with having a really nice billet. The size, it's, there's only so thin you can get it with a hammerstone when you're doing spalling. So having the opportunity to do a little bit more with this, it's really helped me to use the larger material and get longer, bigger flakes. That being said, you can get by without it. I did for a long time, but if you can get one, I would say it's definitely worth having as a way to ease your way into napping and make the most of your material. It's worth it to have this to help make that difference. I love this thing. And last, my elk billet. This is, call him Big Fudge. He is enormous. It's really long. I like it because I can choke up and do what I described before, but I can also grip all the way down here and create that leverage to where, like I was talking about with these guys, when it comes through, it's not that I'm swiping down. I finally make that contact. It's a stamp through. And that angle lets me really achieve that with some gusto. You can see where I keep the crown on my antlers usually. The billets I buy, they come shaved. That's super helpful and convenient. I did not cut this myself. I don't have any whole moose antlers. I did cut this myself from an elk antler. I kept the crown on it because, as you can see, as I've used it, the crown's just broken off where it's not meant to be. It comes off, and then I'll go through and I'll shape it down and smooth it out. But as you can see, this side of the crown is just there fine. It just hasn't gotten in the way. This side it did, and it's come off, and it's told me what it wants to be and the shape it works, and I love this thing. It's gotten me through a lot of pieces of stone and a lot of pieces of glass. I really like it. That's kind of the end of my kit. Thank you, Andrew, for challenging me. I really appreciate it. I think I'm gonna have to nominate Alistair of Frog and Flint and Flintology. I want to see your kit. You said you're gonna be doing some more napping soon. Let's see it.